Hey, primates! Links to the video we reacted to today are in the description below. Also be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, as well as hit the little bell to be notified whenever we go live or put out new content. It really helps us out. Thank you so much. Enjoy the show. After all that, those dinos, I want to see something just a little bit of smarticles stuff. Kazakhstan, as always, in a nutshell, one of the most phenomenal and amazing YouTubers out there, my dude. Please drop him a like, please drop him a subscribe. I'm gonna copy this, put it in the Discord, go and give him some love. If you don't know what to say in the comments, there's a little call sign I dropped at the bottom of the description. You can go ahead and click on the channel, the YouTube video, and copy paste that little stamp, the little see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. Put it on the comments for them so they know where the love came from, my dudes. That's if you can't think of something genuine to talk about. Please go and talk about the actual video. Now, this video is one of my favorite topics ever. There are thousands of alien empires in the Milky Way. I agree. Now, tell us about these alien empires.
What if there are thousands of alien What if there are thousands of alien empires in the Milky Way, each spanning a few to maybe tens of star systems, chatting, trading, sometimes shooting or ignoring each other politely?
I think the best bets we have right now are, terraforming Mars? I think that, like, the biggest outposts are gonna be, like, Earth, the Moon, terraformed Mars, potentially Venus, because we've already accidentally seeded the planet with certain bacterias. And that really changed the composition of the planet. So potentially Venus. Potentially. And I think Titan. Titan seems like the next big, like, celestial body that might be, like, somewhere at least near close to being habitable, or at the very least some kind of artificial habitation.
And if so, why is nobody visiting us? While the Milky Way is ancient and gigantic, even traveling at 10% the...
Yeah, that's the thing. I feel like it's a lot of different things. The universe is huge, bro. Like, and what are the odds? Like, the chances of another species being born out there is not only... It is possible. There's no way, right? The law of infinity, like, guarantees that there's definitely a species out there. However, the actual soup of life, let's call it, that would be necessary to create a whole species of life out there, an intelligent species, I feel like that would lend sort of to itself being like there's gonna be very few intelligent species out there that will accidentally run into us, you get me? But I feel like at a certain point, even if we gained the ability to fly everywhere, let's say we flew to a different galaxy and we saw a civilization on a different planet, yeah, we would want to make first contact, but after a while, do we gotta contact every single planet? Do we gotta contact, like, these guys aren't even spacefaring, they haven't gotten to the point where they start flying into space. So kind of like, what's the point? What's the point of visiting them right now? We already have a trade network with like 20 other species, 20 other planets. You get what I'm saying? And sure, we might say, well, the nice thing would be to help them become spacefaring people. And would we want to, though? Like humans right now, you know, they kind of just blow each other up. I don't know if we necessarily need them. You know, we don't really need them in the greater political universe to be. You know what I'm saying? Like, how much of that is possible? I feel like
the speed of light, any civilization could take over the whole galaxy within 1 million years. But we haven't seen anybody yet. So it seems we're alone in the Milky Way. But this idea is built on a lot of assumptions. Usually, when scientists speculate where all the alien civilizations are, they assume technology will progress to a point where colonizing all of space becomes kind of easy. But what if we're thinking about this the wrong way? What if the universe is full of life, but no matter how technologically advanced you are, space is never easy? What if aliens slowly crawl through space, expanding like humans did over the ocean? Let's look at the only data point we have: ourselves.
That's a great point. What if it's like so incredibly difficult to travel that the other species are trying to right now as we speak? Same as us. On the grand scale of like the Big Bang to now, we're all working on the same time flow, you know? So they might not be as advanced as we are, or they might be slightly more, or they might be past, you know?
The available real estate in the galaxy. Oceania is a region with tens of thousands of islands scattered across millions
Bro,
of
it
square
would suck if we are the most advanced. Like, there are other species, but they're actually slightly less advanced with us, you know? That would suck, because that means we would be the first people, you know? And it's like, there's no one to share that with.
kilometers separated by an unforgiving, deadly sea. Kind of like a galaxy. Some 5,000 years ago, the first people set out to colonize Oceania. Especially the Polynesians achieved mind-blowing feats. Without any modern technology, they set out into the vast nothingness, hoping to find a new island to claim, or, like, die, far from home.
Bro, Moana was a good movie.
But most of the Pacific Islands are merely a few wet rocks or corals, maybe some palm trees, and if you're lucky, birds making a pit stop. Others with more vegetation are often hostile, lacking the resources to really sustain a lot of people, and remain uninhabited even today. And then there are the good islands. The Polynesians colonized them, spreading their culture and society to dozens of remote islands of all sizes.
Nice!
Some united in kingdoms
so cool.
spanning many islands, others were independent, many home to competing and belligerent tribes. And although thousands of kilometers apart, even the most remote islands were connected with at least some trade and exchange. A microcosm of humanity. But it didn't always work out. The extremely isolated Pitcairn Islands were settled for hundreds of years and relied on trade with each other and bigger islands hundreds of kilometers away. And then the local population vanished. We don't know why. Maybe because the islanders did the human thing and ravaged the natural resources until they became unsustainable. Maybe the decline on distant bigger islands severed important connections.
Possibly.
We only know their culture declined and they left or died out. What if space is an ocean to us? A hostile place that's hard to conquer? Would alien civilizations spread like the Polynesians?
110%. That's the only way to do it. Like, Mars would have its own culture, its own people, its own, like, everything. And each time you do it, it has to be starting a whole other civilization. That's what people need to understand. Colonizing a planet is going to be literally like inserting the first few people that's going to build the entire civilization from scratch.
The Milky Way has around 200 billion star
and
systems.
Frankly, like, let's say we did take over, like, let's say we got to the point where we could go to Mars, and we could just, like, turn it into a freaking, like, thing. Like, Mars, you mine now you Super Earth. It's like, yeah, technically, we could do that, but let's say the government's like, yeah, but... Like, that's gonna be a bit tough, don't you think? Like, if I send you to Mars and start a civilization over there, like, how am I gonna guarantee that the United States of America is gonna be the owner of that planet? You got what I'm saying? Like, it starts to open up way too much problems, and I feel like no government is gonna want to go and colonize a planet until they can guarantee that they're gonna have a military force out there to protect it and keep it. You get me? That's why I don't think the government wants to fund. Like, why do you think NASA hasn't gotten anywhere yet, but Elon Musk can? Because what's the point? Unless we have spaceships that can, like, orbital strike from the planet, like, we're not gonna do nothing about it. You get me? What's the point?
And it seems that almost all of them have planets. Estimates vary, but there may be some 300 million to tens of billions of rocky Earth-like planets in the habitable zone around a star where water can be liquid. Amazing. Except that most of them are terrible. Hells of lava, dead frozen worlds, bare rocks sterile from radiation, blanked by toxic atmospheres.
Venus.
It's easy to forget, but Venus and Mars are Earth-like too.
Yeah.
Mars is the next human frontier and fairly exciting. But Mars dust is poison, and deadly radiation and low gravity will make you sick. Mars is the worst. Except Venus is even worse,
Acid
crushing you to
rain.
death, burning and dissolving you in acid. If humanity was really motivated and had the resources and energy, both could be terraformed within maybe 1,000 years. We showed how in other videos. But the thing is, we already have a planet that's pretty great, So currently, humanity's motivation is not very strong.
Yeah, but like if another alien civilization shows up and like just like drops a pathogen, like COVID-19, and just takes us all out, like we don't have another planet. Like our species would just be gone before we ever got a chance to get off planet.
Now let's think about this in terms of galactic expansion. If the Milky Way is like a vast ocean full of islands, most are planets like Mars and Venus, barren rocks or corals where nothing grows and the elements kill you. Imagine boarding a generation ship to travel for 100 years or more, only to arrive at a new star and then you get a Mars, or worse, a Venus. What a letdown. Terraforming them is such an intense investment in terms of resources to make it worth spending the time to travel to the stars for bad planets. Maybe the simple reason we don't see galaxy-spanning civilizations is that the economics just don't add up for almost all of the star systems out there. But wait, you might say it's actually easy. A high-tech race with unlimited resources could automate this process, sending thinking machines that report back every few thousand years with new planets ready for fresh settlers or automated ships with embryos. But if it were that easy, someone would have done it by now. So either we are really alone, or it's not easy. Thinking about alien civilizations, you need to make loads of assumptions. And for this video, we're assuming that space is hard even for high-tech civilizations that have broken free from the limitations we have today. Now, things are getting exciting. So what if alien civilizations actually ignore the bad islands and just pick the very best? Stringing together island empires like the Polynesians. Thousands of galactic empires. Every star moves in its own orbit through the galaxy, and most stellar neighborhoods are only temporary. At any given time, in some regions there will be more good islands than in others.
I think honestly the number one the number one final best solution is the Dyson sphere. That is the final answer, so to speak, because you could make a Dyson sphere, and on the outer layer of that Dyson sphere, you create the entire habitable planet in layers. You get me? Like a Death Star, basically.
While simply because of bad luck, other regions will be pretty isolated. Earth might currently be in one of these backwaters, surrounded by really bad islands for dozens of light years in all directions. We may be Pitcairn Island, so isolated that nobody knows we're here or cares to establish a colony so remote. But elsewhere in the Milky Way, good islands may be more common. There it would be relatively easy for a high-tech civilization to jump from one good star system to the next, creating connected empires. Strings of worlds, with all the adventure and challenges of expansion, even to really good planets. Do they need to animate dead worlds with oceans? How do they cope with alien microorganisms or strange ecosystems? Do they need to burn it all down and create a mirror of their home world, or do they adapt? How many centuries do they need to make a...
I think it's gonna have to be, honestly, it's gonna be a mix of both. They're gonna have to adapt, no matter what. They're gonna have to... Point blank, I'm sorry, but in the grander picture of everything, we have to terraform. Which I can already see that being a problem for a lot of people. No, leave it the way it is. No, we're gonna have to terraform, and whatever we can't terraform, we're going to have to either make up for with either technology, similar to, like, I forgot what the name of the book I was reading was, but there's a book about, like, where they lived on this planet, and everyone there had to, like, use anti-gravity devices to help them live on the planet. Or replacing things like knees, legs, shoulders, spinal cords with, like, robotic replacements. Though the spinal cord would be near impossible.
A planet truly their home. Empires expanding in regions full of good islands would probably meet each other. Maybe they trade, maybe they fight, maybe they have coffee and chat about the meaning of it all. And just like some of the Polynesian islands, it's likely that many of these planets would be abandoned or for the empires to break apart for a number of reasons. First of all, most great neighborhoods would dissolve over time and connected islands would become remote. Then it just may be the nature of civilization to become unsustainable or self-destructive. Humanity is extremely young, and we've already flirted with extinction. There are
Quite a
numerous
few times.
existential risks, cultural, technological, and environmental, that any civilization has to deal with. And smaller colonies on new planets would likely be less resilient than their home worlds and in bigger danger of dying out. Whenever this happens, this would leave a good island free again for others to rediscover and colonize. It's free real estate.
Dude, what if that's just us, though? What if humans turned up here, crash landed, and it was like, oh man, I guess we'll just make a civilization here.
Also, space is just a different ballpark. The enormous distances between stars make it hard to maintain a consistent civilization. Just think about how many cultures we have on Earth alone. Imagine if sending a message between continents took decades to arrive. Would colonies care what the home world wants from them if it can neither help nor really enforce its will on them?
But that's the thing, it's gonna have to be... That's why, like, when we go to Mars, it has to be entirely and fully self-sufficient. Because all we're gonna be able to do is communicate, like,
This
through
also
messages,
would
through
make
satellites.
interstellar war, except the genocidal kind, completely uneconomic.
Yeah.
Would you go to war with someone because their great-grandfather killed yours? At these distances, it's not like anyone could easily sneak up on each other anyway. And on a much more fundamental level, if island empires don't exchange relevant amounts of genetic information, if there are no hookups between worlds, sooner or later, these populations will develop in different directions and eventually become different species, making it less likely that they'll want to be under common rule.
Great point, actually, yeah. Great point.
So the idea of enormously big, connected empires may just not be feasible if the galaxy is an ocean where good islands are few and far between. But this all
At that point, would racism turn into a genetic thing? Where it's like, I don't know if I like you, let me check your DNA. Man, you're 60% Pluto? I don't know, bro, I don't know. I only F with, friggin', 40% Earth, maybe I'll take 30% Mars, but this
also
is
means
too
that
much,
new civilizations may pop up constantly, spread and partially or completely die out, even if just by splitting into different factions. Islands may be recolonized and abandoned over and over. What would this mean for us? We might think we're alone only because we're on an isolated island right now. But there could be thousands of worlds full of diverse civilizations elsewhere that we would eventually drift closer to. Does this make the Milky Way more scary or less scary?
Way more scary.
Is it a good thing that we'd have time to get our act together before we face anyone else? Or is it a great tragedy that we might not have the chance to meet our neighbors beyond for a long, long time?
Yeah,
Well-
honestly, like, we can't even be self-sufficient here on Earth. Taking on Mars is gonna be extremely difficult.
We don't know, but it is something for you to ponder tonight when you look up at the sky again.
And that's
Hopefully,
the thing, the moment we discover a way to make Mars self-sufficient, that means we've made Earth self-sufficient. And we are not trying to make Earth self-sufficient.
humanity is still at the beginning, and we're learning a tiny bit more about the universe every day. One day, we might spot a good island, and, if we're lucky, many more close by. One huge problem we face as a species is that we can't agree on what's going on.
Yeah.
There are loads of news media, but most of them tend to frame reality through their point of view. And worse, they're trying to get your attention with the most alarmist take, distorting reality further. Ground News, the sponsor of this video, helps you navigate our biased media landscape by letting you directly compare different articles on the same topic from media with opposing viewpoints.
Oh, I like that.
This not only reveals how different sides are framing reality for you, it also provides you with context you would otherwise miss, which
That's freaking
massively
phenomenal.
improves how you can access what's really going on in the world and can help you to make up your own mind, similar to
Yes,
what we
think for
try to do
yourself,
with
baby.
Kurzgesagt. It's like reading a meta-study instead of one single study, giving you a much better
Friggin'
understanding of
delicious,
the
how
world.
dare you?
Give it a try at ground.news/nutshell. If you sign up through this link, you'll get 40% off the Vantage plan, which gives you unlimited access to every Ground News feature. Your subscription directly supports Kurzgesagt and Ground News, so they can continue to make you less reliant
How
on
do you
single
pronounce it?
sources. Access to every Ground News feature. Your subscription directly supports Kurzgesagt and Ground News, so
Kurzgesagt.
they can continue to make you less
Got it.
reliant on single sources. This is personal to us. Like most people, Kurzgesagt founder Philip, who wrote this video, got his information from the same news site for most of his life. Until during a long hospital stay, he read all German newspapers out of boredom every day. It was simply shocking and revealing how much framing was going on, especially in headlines. One would be framing an event as mildly noteworthy, another as a huge scandal, or one side would completely ignore events. If it seems to you that people who you disagree with live in a parallel world, this is a huge reason why. But all of us really should have a complete picture of what's going on. And this is why Ground News is a genuine personal recommendation. If you consume news, do it with a bird's eye perspective above the framing. So check them out at ground.news/nutshell to make sure you're seeing the full picture. Welcome to the Kurzgesagt Lab. Let's
I love that because I also like it's one of the reasons why I watch Philip DeFranco on YouTube, because he tends to be biased, you get me, to a certain degree, but he's very open about that bias, and he tries to be as unbiased as possible. Like, there's no way to avoid bias. Everyone's biased. As long as you're human, you have an opinion, you're biased. But he tries to stay as objective as possible, and I love it.
To few stellar experiments. We'll first add some more mass to this protostar. More. A bit more. Wow, we've just created a blue giant, a star with 10 times the mass of our sun. Let's now add a couple of million years and see what happens. A supernova. Breathtaking. And look, it leaves behind a black hole. Fascinating stuff. Now we record our findings. Be careful to preserve the sparkle. It's now time for Duck's final inspection. This one is always a nail-biter. He has incredibly high standards. Luckily for us, our work is scientifically accurate, offers an overview.
So that's a whole other, like, thing, though. Think about that. Like, when it comes to all this stuff, like, eventually the sun is going to explode and become a supernova and create a black hole. Would the Dyson sphere be wrecked at that point, or is there some kind of way for us to use a black hole as a power source? Because it is an unending suction force, so to speak. You get me?
With important astrophysical processes and is a real stunner. Duck approves.
Hey.
Looks like it's ready to be shared with the world as a poster. A very special piece of Kurzgesagt you can take home and touch. You can get this very special poster along with many other sciencey and spacey things created with love and care from our shop. Every Kurzgesagt product you buy directly funds another moment we get to spend working on our videos. Thank you so much for being a part of our story and for making this channel possible.
Nice, my dude. Freaking love it, of course. I didn't know they had this kind of merch, dude. That's a freaking sick poster on freaking black holes and planets. Guarantee you it's not even that pricey. Absolutely great, my dudes. Go and check them out. Okay,
Peggy,
all right.
18.
My mouse is going. All right, okay, relax. All right, I wanted to see this. Okay, boys, we'll check this out just a sec. Go check them out, dude. Cause that amazing. Go. Freaking phenomenal, dude. They have such great educational videos, dude. I literally watch them daily. I freaking go to sleep listening to dude because he has the most calm and relaxing voice. Just so sweet. I love it. Thank you so much, Primates, for watching this all the way to the end. Also, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, as well as hit the little bell for a rainbow explosion that will go ahead and notify you every single time we go live or put out new content. Thank you so much, goodbye, and thanks for swinging by.